going on, guys and gals? Bonafide Hustler here, coming to you with another live video from the inside of my office. Now, I think my internet is working good today. Hopefully, there was a really big outage in Austin, Texas yesterday in a large piece of the city, and that's the reason why I could not do the thrift battle number 4 yesterday. But just trust me when I say this, I was really wanting to do the thrift battle number 4 yesterday. It sucks that, sometimes there's technical issues. But anyways, we're going to be trying to reschedule that one for either next week or sooner. Anyways, I'm the Bonafide Hustler. I reside in Austin, Texas, and on a part-time basis, I am flipping stuff I find from garage sales, estate sales, yard sales, flea markets, pawn shops, swap meets, and I put it on places like eBay, Amazon, my booth, my antique booth, Craigslist, and consignment stores in town. Anyways, I am one of the owners of the Green Room University. Here's a Green Room shirt right here. Anyways, you can go check that out. Is the second link down below. But today, in this video, I want to talk to you guys about something that I think is, not terrible advice, but you have to know how to take the advice. So here's why this kind of popular piece of advice I think is actually incorrect. So let's talk about the actual advice that you might be hearing out there in the YouTube channels. And I might have said this back in the day, but just trust me, this is the meaning behind what I've always been talking about. But the bad advice that I see out there, and I'm not calling out any channels or anything like that, but I want to definitely, how do I say, elaborate on this, because I think it's my due diligence to help you guys out, especially when you're trying to run an eBay business. And I quoted that for a reason. You'll see why later. But the bad advice that I have heard out there is that list more, and list often, list more, list often. And people hear that all the time, right? I hear it every neck of the woods, right? And like I said, I might have said it back in the day, but here's the reason why I say list more, list often. List often is one of those ways that you can actually become more in line with eBay. I think it's really important. Whether the algorithm favors that or not, I can probably tell you with my experience that I think it does. So if you have a batch of 50 items to list for a week, let's say, for example, and I say 50 because I'm a part-time basis kind of guy. I could even go to 30, but for some people that are doing this full-time and they're sourcing on a full-time level, it's probably higher. But instead of spending one day a week doing all 50, I really think breaking it up is absolutely one of those things that really pairs you up with eBay. And anytime that you can pair up with something, then typically that something will help you out. And typically that what I think is the eBay algorithm helps and boosts you because they see someone partnering up with them. I had this discussion with Eric, the college picker, when he was in town a couple of days ago, and he was like, yeah, I know somebody that actually did a kind of experiment, right? And he, instead of doing 20 items at the end of the week to list, he broke those up and started doing it every day, like 2 a day or 7 a day, 2 or 4 a day, something like that. And he said he was convinced, after like 3 months of doing it, that he saw more sales with the doing it every day listing as opposed to one time a week. So I want you to shed some light on that. But list more, list often. Why do I think that's bad advice? Because a lot of people out there, beginners and intermediates, think that that's how you make a business and that's how you thrive and that's how your eBay store gets great and big and everything like that. I don't think that's right. I think, when you're building a business, the business, it has to be fun. I'm sick of, I'm not sick of hearing this, but I hear this and it's very depressing when people are like, what's going on? Like I got a bunch of this in my store. It could be trinkets, it could be glassware, it could be clothing and whatever. And people are like, what's going on with eBay? I'm not, I have 800 items in my store. I have 600 items in my store. Sales are totally slow. Why is this? And maybe it's because you've been listening to that advice, like list more, list often. And so you do it, right? And so you do it, but you have no idea really why you're doing it. And it couldn't be more obvious than when someone with a 500 item store, 800 item store, 1,000 item store, when they sit there and go, what's going on with eBay? Like what's, why is this why am I not getting the results that everyone else is getting? Or why am I not getting any results? And I think it's because of that. I think it's because you thought list often or list more was the right thing to do. And I don't think it is. So I'll tell you what my quest is. And College Picker and I completely agreed on this. We talked about this openly, not on a YouTube Hangout, but he was here. And my quest really on a part-time basis now is to have 200 like hard-hitting items, items I'm passionate about, items that I care to flip, items that I care to make my listings awesome with awesome keywords and awesome pictures, that kind of stuff. Like that's where the business is fun, right? If you're in the business just to list random things around your house, and you're just listing things just because, oh, listing is cool, you're going to probably find out that you're getting taxed by all kinds of like, not final value fees, because clearly you have to sell it to get a final value fee, but you're getting hit with all kinds of stuff. And if you don't have like a premier store, like a $60 level or even an anchor level store, you're probably getting eaten up by relist fees, right? And things like that. So my suggestion is actually look at your business, right? Look at your business and go, what am I not really even passionate about in this horde of items that I have on eBay? And that's my first question to myself. Like out of the 150 items I have right now, I told College Picker, I'm probably not passionate about 20 to 40 of them. They're just there, right? And he was like, well, you did the work, so why take them out? I'm like, you know what? This is kind of a quest for me. Like I said before, that my quest now is to really put 200 really high quality items that I actually care about in my store. Items that I know I can answer any question to if I get it in the wee hours of the evening, where I don't have to open up the package again or something like that. Items that it's fun to flip. It's try to find it again. It's awesome. Like it's a great feeling. So I think, yeah, Thrifty Treasure says 200 is super manageable on a part-time basis. But just trust me, it starts feeling, you know, I have 150 and I would call them pretty good items, right? Except for those like, you know, 20 or whatever. And it feels good, you know, 1 or 2 sales a day. That's great for a part-time basis. But if you're looking at items that have, you know, pure profits of $40, $60, sometimes more, now you're talking like a real business owner, I believe, right? I'm only investing maybe 12 to 16 hours into eBay a week. And it feels good. My goal is to do 200 items, you know, maybe 3K take home at the end of each month. Like that's kind of like a goal that I want to work towards because that's a fun goal. That's a business goal. And we'll differentiate between a business and a hobby here. And then we'll have a question, you know, a section for Q&A and everything like that. Now, just trust me, I'm not ragging on anybody or anything like this, but the whole point of this video is to kind of show you, here's why I think this eBay advice that we've been all hearing forever is pretty incorrect. I'm definitely not one of those people that picks sides or anything like that, or one of those people that throws someone under the bus. I'm not going to do that. But I think it's important because I've always been thinking like, I hear people like, oh, I listed 100 items today. I did this, or I want to get to X amount of items in my store because that's the goal, the ultimate goal. When, you know, recently, as in the past week, I've seen some people in other groups, and I think even mine, like, why are sales so slow right now? Like, look at my items. Why are sales so slow? My items are good, you know. And meanwhile, they're only making like $5 or $10 a pop. Like, that's not fun. Like, I don't think that's fun unless you have a helper or something like that. So I think the reality is if you go with the quantity versus quality model, yeah, you can knock out 100 listings in a day, 100 listings a week. That's great, but that's also 100 different customers you have to handle, 100 different packages you got to mess with, right? And if you're making $5 or $10 on each, that's really not that much money as opposed to maybe whittling it down to 20 really badass, hard-hitting items that you actually care about, dealing only with 20 customers, for example, and you know, actually feeling like it's a quest to find these items. Whereas if you go into a store like a thrift store, and you're, you know, how do I say it? Like clothing is one of the main examples that I see out there. Like people are like, oh, the market's saturated. I'm not sourcing the right clothing. You know, what I'm saying is hold out for the better stuff. Hold out and figure out what your time is worth. And I completely, you know, if you're a single person dealing with this eBay business, I kind of disagree with the whole like listing 100 items a day or 50 items a day, and that's your milestone. Because if these things are only paying you like $2, $3, $5 a piece, you're working yourself into the ground. You're never going to be able to escape that. You'll be doing that for the rest of your life. You know, I think the goal is to enjoy this, what we have here, this opportunity of eBay, but at the same time, figure out your next move. And we'll be talking about that here in a second. So, you know, as a part-time kind of person that's dealing with eBay right now, or if you're a full-time person that has a really rich talent in thrift, I say proceed with quality, right? Proceed with quality. Know what quality is, study as much as it takes to learn what quality products are, okay? And I think that is super, super important. When you can actually hold back from purchasing things or hold back from a whole clothing row, you know, rack, instead of just rifling through and just picking out anything that you find that sounds cool, or I saw it in a guide, it's awesome, right? The clothing market, I'm not gonna say with a definite that it's saturated, but I would say with complete confidence that I think maybe 60% of it is. Like 60% of it's just items that are going to sit in your store. They're bland looking, and they're probably not going to pay you back for the time that you put into the project. And plus, you got to store that stuff, right? So I'm more interested in like fast moving items and mid-tier kind of items that are kind of unique, that have resilient markets, okay? That have markets that will never get eroded, right? They've always been there. And if you look at their 90-day history, they're almost always there. Like there's always a good market for it. But that being said, when you have a market of 8,000 items, I've been telling you guys in the past that a market of 8,000 items is great, right? Depending on where the market is. Like if it's at, $10 and it peaks at like 20, okay, so that's 8,000 items that peak at 20 bucks. I like items that have markets that are like 50 items, 100 items, where the first one's sitting around 60, right? And the last one's sitting around 200. That's good, because I'm probably looking at it at a thrift store at $10, right? Now that starts becoming an easier proposition as opposed to flipping, X amount of garments, X amount of ties, X amount of glassware. I can flip one thing, right? And one thing, when dealing with one customer, pack it up real good, less things to mess with, less boxes to buy, less poly bags to buy, less bubble wrap to buy. You're dealing with one customer, right? So you just make it all good for that one customer. If you do it right, with good pictures, good keywords, I think you'll do just fine. But I think a lot of people, when they go to that 100-item thing or 200 items listed a week, man, something is going to give, right? If it's a single man operation, single woman operation, something is going to give. And typically, it's quality of your listing, right? So anyways, this is Bob Rackhouse says, this is Craigslist Hunter's argument too. So I'll just be clear right here. Like, I've been thinking about this for like many, many months, and I'm not copying it off of Craigslist Hunter. As a YouTube creator, like I don't have much time to watch other people's videos. I really, really think Craigslist Hunter has some really cool stuff in his, is it a pawn shop or a store, whatever it is. And his dumpster diving videos are legendary. But if we're on the same wavelength of thought, that's great. That's actually, that's almost a respectful thing to say, because it's like we're thinking on the same levels. And I feel as if when I watch his videos, like he's really passionate about the stuff that he's messing with, right? He's not just flipping a Birch Brothers shirt, right? Like that's what I'm kind of saying. Like he's not just, oh yeah, that's a cool little trinket thing where you can store your rings at night and then it sits on eBay for like 12 months. Like I don't think he's messing with those. He's messing with really cool things with defined markets and things that'll pay him for what his time is worth, if not more. So, anyways. Got some notes written down. Clearly, if I have notes written down, it's something I'm very passionate about, and something that I want to tell you guys about. And I think it's anytime I make a video, one or two things are going on in my head. One of the thing is like, oh, I need to let them know and teach them some things, and on an AdSense basis, I'll get rewarded if the video does well. So if I do my job well, I get paid. You guys find this stuff out in the wild, and it's an amazing, thing for both of us, right? And then my other thought process is, sometimes there are things that are just a little controversial that I have to just pull out and go, you know what? Let's talk about this thing real quick. And you can disagree with me, and that's fine. And I think I want to see some disagreements. If you got a disagreement or something like that, put it down below. I want to see it, or you can put it right here. But I'm really trying, just understand, like at the bottom of my heart, I really try, like if I'm doing this thing and if I'm on the quest to do this, I want some of you guys to be on the quest to do this too. So I was talking about learn about more high quality goods. You can do that in a plethora of ways. Watch YouTubers that you find that are finding interesting items. Okay, I'm not saying it's me or Craigslist Hunter. Just find the YouTuber that you bond with the most that's flipping a diverse set of items. Diversity is really what's going to make this work. Okay, I'm not even watching the feed that much, so if someone's like talking trash or something, I won't be able to see it. But I do want to kind of talk about this before it gets off my mind, and I got to go through this outline. So yeah, strong markets, resilient to saturation, and it's completely worth your time more than likely, right? High quality goods. They're usually diverse too. Like I don't know. Like here's a perfect example of a diverse good. It's actually in our guide, but this sold while college paper was in town. I held on to it for like 3 months. It was $4 at a Savers. It sold for 70 bucks on eBay. It was prepackaged. I didn't do really anything. I was just like, oh, cool, like slap a label on it, and I made like 50 bucks, right? But that was a pair of Z-Coil shoes that were white. They needed a little bit of cleaning, so I invested probably a minute of my time, cleaned them up, threw them in a box, taped it, done. And yeah, that's the kind of items I'm talking about. I'm not saying go out and find a bazillion Z-Coil shoes, but our guide had that in there. And I'm going to be honest, like I learned Z-Coil shoes from Youre, which is one of our first admins in the green room. But that's what I'm talking about. The diversity is what wins. And when you watch Thrift Battle, that is exactly what we're talking about in Thrift Battle, is diversity, diversity, diversity. You see why Thrift Battle is so exciting, right? We're only on show 4, which we haven't even aired it yet, but we've filmed 3 Thrift Battles. I'm 100% like super, super excited to host that show. Rakin loves it. College Picker loves it. Jason Sloan loves it. Like, and everyone that has commented on that video, they had a choice to comment it or hate it. And they've all been like, this is a really good concept. I'm learning so much, because diversity is fun, right? Having all that up there and going out to a thrift store, going out to a garage sale, and having so much knowledge in here, that is a great feeling. It really, really is, as opposed to maybe going into a thrift store, always going to the same section, or maybe you're in a bins and you're always going to the same section, picking up the same things. That gets monotonous and boring, and plus you probably have to have inventory management going down perfectly, a lot of paperwork. To me, it just seems like a lot of work for very little return. So let's talk about now, if you do this properly, if you kind of focus a little bit more on high quality goods. So I urge you guys to take a look at your eBay store, or gals, look at your eBay store and take a look, like, what do I not care about? Like, why is this even here? Why has this been here for a year? Like, start looking at those kind of things, and ask yourself, really, like, do I really care about this item? Like, what was I thinking back in the day versus what I know now? Could I really take my store from 500 items down to 250 or 300 really hard-hitting items? Like, hold out for hard-hitting items. Like, don't just amass a pile, a huge death pile that you might not ever get to, right? But actually wait it out for some good stuff. And if you have to travel a little bit more to find good stuff, that's great. Just remember that if you find high-quality things, you deal with less customers, less materials, less paperwork, less tax stuff. I mean, it just all kind of works out, right? You're not spinning your wheels anymore. And here's why: if you don't spin your wheels anymore, here's what can happen, okay? You have a lot of extra time to do other things and other opportunities that are really, really important, I think, as of now. I was talking to one of the green room members this morning. We had a doppio together, and we were talking about one of my largest faults now, currently, is that there's so many opportunities out there outside of reselling. There's just a bazillion opportunities to make money. There's so many, and sometimes I don't know where to focus because they're everywhere. It could be merch, it could be private label, FBA. I mean, for me, like personal training, workout stuff, workout channel, like there's so many opportunities to really shine out there. But if you're bogged down with something in some business that you're not even really, like, you're just doing it because you've heard this advice and you're like, oh yeah, list more. I listed 1,000 items, and you're only selling like 5 a day, 10 a day, but you look at the net result of the whole thing and it's like $20 or $50. You got to start asking yourself, maybe if I did this a different way, then I could have a little bit more time, right? And when you have a lot more time, you can do a lot of cool things. So spend time with your family, go on some trips. You can, increase your FBA business a little bit. You can maybe look into private label, right? Look into AliExpress or Alibaba and take a look for maybe an underserved market out there on Amazon and see if you could build something and private label it, bring it to life, throw it to Amazon, maybe 50, 100 units, and see how that goes. Merch, right? Merch is one of the biggest opportunities right now. Start a merch account. Maybe you have a merch account that's just dead. It's just sitting there and you haven't put any time into it. Well, get Illustrator, watch some tutorials, and maybe spark up your merch business, which is kind of interesting. Anyways, so list more quality stuff, absolutely. List more random stuff, or just list because you're listing. That's hopeful. That's being hopeful, right? And if you're trying to get a business accomplished here, you got to have passion. You got to have control. If you become hopeful and you're like, I don't know what's going on, I'm hopeful, like, I think you might have more of a hobby, all right? So, if you have a hobby, that's okay. Just don't expect to get out of the hobby. How do I say it? If you have a hobby, it is fun, but typically a hobby wastes your time and wastes your money. Typically. And yeah, you get some fun out of it, and that's great. But a business is actually fun. It's goal-oriented. It deals with expansion. It deals with learning. And those are fun things. Those are things where you're going to learn skills and you're going to make mistakes, and that's great. That's what I want you to do. I want you to make a ton of mistakes, but I want you to follow the high-quality model, honestly. So that was pretty much my passionate little write-up right here. I want to go to a Q&A and see what you guys are talking about. We got 98 viewers in the house here, and do you guys agree with me? It's okay to disagree. It's totally okay, but just understand from my point of view, even when I was a full-time hustler, I was totally going with diversity and like one-of-a-kind finds with really good marketplaces. That was just me. But I have a lot of opportunity here in Austin, Texas, so I could afford to kind of hold out for the good stuff. Some people might not have those opportunities. Maybe that's the reason why they're doing some of this other stuff that will get bogged down, and the markets are just so, how do I say it? There's just a bazillion of that product, and it's all shaken out around $15 or something, or $20, and it might not be worth your time, But the definition of insanity is to do the same exact thing and expect a completely different result. So I'm not calling people out there insane, but I'm saying please take a look at your business and go, do I actually care about this stuff? What would make me care about this more? And how can I actually reinvigorate what I think my dream business should be on eBay, right? Think about it. So anyways, Thrifty Treasure says, I totally agree with you and I really needed to hear this. Thank you. Yeah, it's just one of those things that I even need to work on, right? But the fact that it's conscious in my head, I raised it with College Picker, and he was like, yeah, that's where all the fun is when you have a lower amount of eBay inventory, but it's selling so fast and it's rewarding you, $30 here, $50 there, $100 here, like that's fun. There's someone in the green room, Laura Christie, Daniel Ramsey. I want to give a shout out to that person. That person deals with primarily bike parts and bike stuff. And this person's like renting a van, going places, like sourcing from bike swap meets, getting really cool, high quality parts, throwing on an eBay store that has, I think, 400 to 500 items. And he told me one time on a video, he's like, yeah, my greatest problem right now is maintaining 500. I can't even do it. Like my stuff is selling out. It's stuff I really care about. He's a bike dude. And I was like, that's a great problem to have, right? He's like, I would love to surpass 500, but I try to, and it goes back down to 450, 400. I'm like, that means you're selling good stuff that you care about. That's good. That's a really good problem to have. So yeah, I mean, that's just someone that's focused on one good. The bike niche is pretty profitable. I ain't gonna lie to you, but not all niches are like that. Niche, whatever. So I'm gonna go through some more, answers, and or comments, and I kind of want to see what's going on. Brian Bowen, Bonafide, I agree with you, but you seem to overlook the extra investment of time and travel up front for looking at these passionate items. It's a good idea, but it doesn't come without a trade-off. I understand. So that's a really, really good piece of insight. And yes, if you live in a town that has a little bit more remote or scarce opportunities, you're going to have to plan a little bit better. You're going to have to plan when I go out, got to bring my USPS packages with me, whatever's going out to FBA. You got to start making this into a business, going out there, maybe staying out all day, past rush hours and all that kind of stuff. For me, I can create a thrift route in about 4 stops that's 4 miles from my house. But I could also shift into a completely different, like I could just do Targets and Walmarts and pawn stores. So I don't live in the biggest city on earth, right? I live in Austin, Texas, which has massive traffic problems. But I make the best out of my situation. I think people can really make the best out of theirs as well. I have great garage sales. I'm not going to lie, and that's where diversity really wins in a garage sale. But that said, plenty of weekends have been too cold, rainy, and I could sit there and build a wall, however high and make excuses. But my mind doesn't work like that. My mind's always improvise, adapt, overcome, right? Improvise, adapt, overcome. Figure out where else there's places to make money. Thrift stores, pawn shop. Hey, the weather starts turning. Thrift stores, pawn stores, big box stores. Improvise, adapt, overcome every single time. So yes, it's factored into my whole entire thing, but I'm also investing, as few hours as I can. My goal is to invest as few hours as I can, 200 items, 3K a month, like take home. Like that's a really interesting goal for me to have. And I think I can get to it, but it's going to take a while because you can imagine starting from 140 items or 130 items in my eBay store. If I'm only focusing on high quality, I might get to 140, then I'll be down at 135. I might get to 143, I'll be down at 140. And if you're doing it the right way, it should be a very small trickle up. If I can get it done, it's going to be tough, right? But it'll force me also when I'm going to garage sales and estate sales and all these kind of things to really look hard at the item and go, do I care about this item? What do I stand to make of this item? Because if it's sub like $30 or something like that, I better be thinking in my head, antique booth or FBA. Like, I don't want to house that in my house, and I don't want part of my eBay store, right? I want my eBay store to be like really cool, passionate items that I can, flip. So, JR Guerra says, well, I'm referring to selling fishing stuff. I love to fish. I'm very knowledgeable with the topic, but I don't think the market is huge. Well, explore every single fishing outlet in your town. I don't care if you have a Bass Pro Shop or a Field and Stream, down to maybe you have to make an ad on Craigslist and offer up saying you will buy fishing boxes that are just kind of in a garage or something like that, hoping to find some like vintage head fishing things or a vintage fly reel or something cool. You're going to have to start to think and improvise. Like, how can I maybe get the people to come to me? So that's an important kind of way to do it too. I've done so many different ways. When I was kind of big into going to people's properties, like American Picker style, I had to make an ad on Craigslist, right? An ad that was just modeled after their American Pickers ad that you can see online. I modeled it right after. I didn't copy the same things, but that was my improvise, adapt, overcome. I was like, how do I get people with property and old stuff on it to come to me instead and invite me out to their property? And I was like, well, I got to make ads, or I have to go to these small rural towns around Austin give little handouts to convenience stores that are close to like farmlands and stuff. So, you know, that I did that for a little bit, and it was a lot of fun. But then as all these other opportunities started coming around, I found that I could make more money with some of this other stuff. So, you know, I love to still do that. And if I get a chance to do one that's, you know, within 30 minutes of Austin, Texas, I will absolutely go pick on someone's property, because that is fun. I've even taken Eric to some of that. And it's a lot of fun when you're stepping over crazy things and rusty parts, and it's all dirty and dingy, and you know that everything that you're touching and picking up is probably worth money. You put it in a big pile, get it for basically nothing. That's a fun feeling. It really is. So let me take a look at some other people here. What are they saying? We have 1,800 listings and we're doing better each month, but we would like to double our sales. Can I do that by just doubling my inventory? Well, you can do that by doubling your inventory, or you can just put better inventory in there and you could hopefully get more sales. So if you have 1,800 plus and you're not making what you want, the question starts becoming, the 1,800 I think is, how do I say it? It might not be anything in the equation, right? It might just be a simple number that doesn't mean anything. Maybe 1,600 with 200 extra really good items, thus making 1,800 is a better equation. You know, you never know until you try. But if I had 1,800 listings and I was doing okay every month, but I would like to double my sales, I would be automatically thinking in my head, what items outside of what I know about are higher selling items? Like what other items found in thrift stores, found in estate sales, garage sales, could I get into and learn about, learn how to clean them, learn how to test them, learn how to fix them, and what could I learn about, and you know, double my money with some of those extra items. Maybe it's only 100, you need 100 items more that you need, who knows? It could be 200. But anyways, that's just my insight on that. Blissed Life says, I list a bit each day in the morning and I take care of shipping. If I don't, the store gets neglected. Yep. Dan Wright says, start running discounts and use promoted listings. I've seen sales increase when I started doing this. Yes. And the original markdown manager I still find is like being the best way, even though it kind of it brings you into, I think, the new markdown manager, but it's still good. I don't do promoted listings yet, but I do sales like back to back. So I'll go to a week on sale, maybe let a couple hours elapse, and I'll do another one. And that's how I kind of do it. Joe Molina says, I sold my first Sony 8mm night vision cam for 120. Thank you for the Bolo Bonafide. Awesome. So I see, this is what Garage Flips Lottie is saying. I see awesome businesses that sell $5 items and awesome businesses that sell $1,000 items. Yeah, it just depends on how much help you have. Do you have any overhead? You know, there's a lot of ways to look at that. I'm not saying a store with 1,000 items is the wrong way to go, or 2,000 items. What I am saying, and the gist of this whole thing, is really look into your items and start like improving on your business, right? Being more attached to the stuff that you are looking for and that you want to sell makes it more fun. It becomes less of like a hopeful hobby and more of like a business, and that's fun. Dennis Gill, what's up, dude? We talked about this on the ride along. Yeah, so I talked to Dennis Gill, was on the last ride along. It'll be edited hopefully tomorrow. And we talked about this on the ride along. We did, and that's, I think, what makes it fun. Like, I would, dude, if I could have an eBay store with 100 items and be selling 5 a day, like that would be freaking incredible. So that's kind of like the argument I'm making, is like, how thin can you run your inventory where you're still having fun and making a good amount of money? Like, that's kind of like the goal that I'm looking for. Like, how low can I run my inventory, make what I want to make a month, and still have fun and shorten my hours, right? DD says, research could be a huge time suck. I can tell you what can be a huge time suck is not learning, right? So if you're not learning on an everyday basis something new, especially when it comes to reselling or another Bolo or something like that, you'll be doing more research down the road. So if you watch some videos, or even like, I'll just top mine, right? Thrift Battle is pretty cool. Within an hour, items more than likely. And in those 10 items, we explain them pretty well. They're totally diverse, which is cool, because the more diverse that you can, of what you got up there, you can go to any store, any part of the country, and you'll probably find something, right? So I don't think there's anything more taxing to a reseller than doing research the wrong way, or maybe on the spot. That can get really taxing too. The whole idea of learning and being passionate about flipping items is to learn beforehand. So when you get into the situation of buying one, all you're doing is, if you need some clarification in your head, You're whipping out the cell phone, looking at a market real quick. If I see a market, boom, 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 like 2 little thumb scrolls, boom, I see a market, good, I'm buying it. Like that's really it. But if you're sitting there for 5 minutes on each pair of boots that you find on a boot wall, or if you're looking, you know, that can get very, very time consuming. Not to mention if your stores have competition that come in and out of it regularly, you could be missing out on a lot of other things because you're spending too much time researching right then in the store when a lot of this stuff should be done at the house level. Okay, J.R. Guerra, Fireside, some people are talking to each other here. So what do you guys think? Oh, here we go. Steven Steph Resell Killers, how much does actually enjoy the process play into your strategy so it's not a regular job? I think that's really, really important. So I could say that enjoying the entire journey or my eBay journey is everything in the strategy, right? Because as soon as it becomes like death piles or I don't have what I need to clean the items, prep the items, ship the items, whatever, like I don't have that stuff, like that becomes annoying. And that becomes more of like, oh, now I'm running around like a chicken with his head cut off. And that's not fun. What's fun is to be prepared, right? To have all your goods ready to go. I like to pre-box all my stuff. And of course, within a store that's 146, 150 items, whatever I have right now, that's doable, it's manageable. But I even see people that have 200, 400 items starting to do those kind of things. But I think there's a certain threshold where you have to start messing with inventory, not regulations, but you know, inventory kind of things, because you have shelves more than likely and items in bins and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but the second that starts getting out of control, you typically need a worker or some loved one that has to work with you, because it can get kind of crazy, right? So yeah, like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you got the help and the help makes sense in the overall profit picture, then do it, right? Grow the store, right? But a lot of people that I see with a lot of items are starting to have some of these issues where it's like, why are my items selling? And you can look at their store and sometimes it's perfect pictures, good descriptions, decent keywords, wrong items though, you know? Items that have eroding markets, saturated markets, it's no fun, right? When I was a stock trader back in the day, like you don't want to stay, I mean, a saturated market is no fun. A dynamic fun market that has volatility and it has a way in and out, like that's where most day traders love to play, right? But a saturated market, I don't know, there just wasn't anything that any of them did on a daily basis, right? So Debbie Porter says, I never pre-pack now, I sell multiple items. Here's a Fireside, I try to only buy items I would keep myself. That's a pretty good one, I like that. Here's Super Sunshine Thrifter. I find that if you do not continue to list some things, then you won't get the business no matter how much your items are worth. Yeah, I mean, you could look at it that way, right? And I think a lot of people do look at it that way, but I think a lot of those people also go, what is going on with eBay? Like, what is going on with this? Like, why is my stuff not selling? A lot of times when something is not selling, it could be a keyword problem, it could be a picture problem, it could be incorrect drop-down menus that are confusing your buyer. It could also be maybe you're not promoting your stuff. And then lastly, and the worst of all, is that the products aren't good, you know? So that's the hardest thing to break to somebody is like, yeah, you know, you probably want to source different items and hold out for some different items. And I think just the holdout or the practice of holding out, right, is completely valuable in life. You can take it down to any level. When you're buying something or you see something that you want so bad, if you can hold out one day or even a week, try to find it for a discount, better price on Craigslist, whatever, that's a huge like skill to have, to be able to hold out and actually pull the trigger on things that you want. You know, that's a good quality. And the more that you can practice that, the more I think you'll realize reselling is a lot of fun, and reselling, you know, can pave the way to other cool opportunities out there. Seller status will definitely help as well. Usually a seller status helps when it comes to discounts on shipping. Definitely helps on relist fees a lot. So yeah, anyway, Mighty Mushroom says, you're a lot of fun. Thanks, buddy. So yeah, one of the things that we might be doing in the green room soon behind the scenes is actually helping some of our members on a very basic level and like looking at their stores and like checking them out and helping wherever we can, or maybe we'll have a hangout where we all look at each other's stores or something like that. So I think that's definitely coming around in the green room soon. But yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. If you guys like the show hit the like button. You know, if it offended you, still hit the like button. No, I'm just kidding. You can hit the dislike. I don't care. But like I said, this is not to be controversial or anything like that. But I really do think you have to think. I think that when you hear list more and list often, start for 1 second to think about it and go, okay, like what's really going on here? Like, what am I going to be happy with? And I can rest assured, like, the more diverse you are up here, the more you start to realize that the number doesn't matter anymore, right? The number doesn't matter. It's just the ability to find the item at a really good price, throw it on your store. If you did everything right, I think it'll be selling pretty quick. So that's the reason why I think out of my 145 or 147, I don't even know what I have. I really do think if I took down out of the ones that I'm like, this is dumb, and all I'm doing is just relisting this thing over and over and over. And I know that people echo with me on that one, like, you know, where you just press relist on everything that's just, you know, that is unlisted, and that's just the end of it. I mean, if that person never comes around for like 3 years to buy any of those products that are in your inventory that are semi-dead or completely dead, all you're doing is wasting relisting fees, first of all. And second of all, you could just take that and get, you know, reinvigorated with better items, right? And I think that's where I want to do it. And so College Baker Eric, he couldn't really understand it very well. He was like, yeah, but you've already listed them, so what does it matter? I'm like, yeah, but to me, to have a store that's very dynamic and always going, like, that's just my personal goal. So I wanted to share my personal goal with you guys today. And it doesn't have to be your thing, but I think if you start to sort of think about it like that, you might find that you're a little bit more in control of your stuff. And I think that's important. When you have more control, that's a little bit more like a Kiyosaki principle. The more control you have over your stuff or your investment, being time and eBay business and all that, then the more the investment can typically return the return that you want or that you're seeking, right? The more control you have, the better the investment typically will be. So Nancy Condon says, I really like your suggestions. Joe Molina says, trust me, the green room is worth every penny. I've learned a lot there. Treasure Hustlers, hey, what's up? Says, what more do you need? Get this 100 killer items to resell. It's in the description. Yes, I didn't even say it. It's kind of hot in this house, by the way. But yeah, you can go check this out. This will start your diversity learning train pretty quickly. It's the first link down below, so go check this out. It's a free guide. Put it on your phone. Yeah, you'll be put on an email list, and there will be a couple sales in the green room for the email list. So email list has really cool content that we curated, and stuff that we talk about sometimes on our YouTube channels, but it's pretty cool to just see it in an email. And you'll get this for free. Throw it on your phone, study it, right? Because that's like bread and butter items. I don't care what town you're from, bread and butter items are really good to learn. And see what you can make of it, right? But a lot of people like that guide. It's great. There was a time where we were actually charging a pretty good amount for that guide, but now it's free. So go check that out. Blessed Life says, great topic, by the way. Your shirts are awesome. I will give a shout out to Glenn from Hustler Hacks, who created all of our green room designs. So that's pretty neat. Juan Zuniga says, thanks for the great videos. It's very entertaining and informative. Dee says, I gave this a thumbs up. Sujo Cat says, I worked out my sell-through rate as 20% per month. Is that any good? That's not bad. It's not bad at all. But if you have 10,000 items, then I would say it depends on what you're making per item, right? Like if it's 20% per month, but it's only items that are rewarding you $2 to $5 a piece, it's all relative. It just depends on what each item typically pays you. Thus, going back to, if you're passionate about the items, you wouldn't put an item that is pretty much dead into your eBay store. So whether you're doing 20%, 40%, 50%, which should be a great goal. If anybody can flip 50% of their inventory and still look in their head and go, you know what, that was completely worth my time, that is the way to be thinking. Like, that's a business owner right there. So 500 items at 20% per month, it's 100 items a month. 100 split upon a month. I mean, 100 1 month, 3 items a day. It's not too bad. I would say that's pretty good. I like it, but it also depends on what you're making per item, right? If you're doing 3 items a day selling it, but you're making $7 an item, it's 21 bucks out of the whole thing. It just depends. It depends on how important $21 is to you, and what's it worth to your time, which is sort of, the whole overlook. How do I say it? The whole, if you invested X amount of hours a week, you have to roll that into the profit picture as well, and then see divided by your hours that you worked, and is it worth your time? Joe Molina says, does this shirt mean that the green room is really run by the Illuminati? No, this one's a really good shirt. I think it's a little kind of spy hunterish. It reminds me a little bit of Armada, this book that I have up there by Ernst Klein. I don't know why, but I think Clockwork Orange when I see this thing. So maybe I'm the only person that sees it, but I can see what you're talking about, Illuminati. Okay, do you have contact info Bonafide Youre? Yeah, just Facebook me as Bonafide Hustler, and I'll try to get around to you. I usually can get around to people within 2 days or so. Let me know. Bob Rackhouse says, I think this shirt has a hinted meaning, subliminal mind control. No, it's not all about that. I'm a firm believer that if you give a lot of value, then people trust you, and then when people trust you, it's like they usually follow in line with whatever you're about. So yeah, you can. This is definitely some good information that I'm trying to roll out to you. Like if this wasn't good information, like I would not even consider telling you guys, and I wouldn't consider doing it myself. So I've always been on the quest secretly to do this, but I think once you keep it at the forefront of your mind all the time when you're sourcing and you're picking up items, like keep that on the forefront, then I think you start to find that you will change and your buying habits will change a little bit. And remember the principle of holding out, very important to hold out for something good. That just echoes all the way across life. Like holding out is a good thing. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. 111 viewers. All right, so this is the last time I'll ask for this. Hit the like button, please. Go check that out. If you didn't see the whole video and you're like, oh, I want to kind of see what this is all about, it'll be live on my channel in about 5 minutes. Till then, if you want to do a ride along here in Austin, Texas, please hit me up on Bonafide Hustler Facebook. If you'd like to collab on a video with me, right, or we can talk hustling things or whatever, hit me up on Bonafide Hustler Facebook. Maybe we can get something going. It's a lot of fun. I actually hit up Treasure Hustlers today on a comment to see if they want to join in on an interview or a hangout or something. We'll check it out, But yeah, if there's any way that maybe my work and my channel can help you guys out, maybe build your channel up or something like that, let me know, and I would be glad to at least entertain maybe the offer. I think that's pretty much it. I am done with this. Yeah, I think it went down pretty smooth. Hopefully I didn't rub anyone the wrong way, and I'll see you next time. All right, guys, take it easy. Goodbye.